shaping foreign policy?
Well, I think the nation was lucky to have him at that particular time. Say he was the last World War II veteran. And but there were just remarkable events that took place during those 4 years. When you think about the end of the Cold War, the Soviet Union going out of business, the unification of Germany, the liberation, if you will, of all those former Soviet states in Eastern Europe. Big changes that the situation had existed since the end of World War II and through the Cold War. And all of a sudden it ends, and he was in exactly the right spot when that happened, especially because he understood that partly what was needed was to manage the U.S. reaction, that there was a way, if you overdid it, if, say, people were dancing on the Berlin Wall, you could get into a situation where you'd make it tougher for Gorbachev to do what we wanted him to do, which was end the Cold War. And the president was masterful.
And is that something that we've lost?
Well, he had this rare combination. I mean, he's 58 combat missions in World War II, shot down over the Pacific, rescued by an American submarine, came obviously very close to death. And at the same time, his tremendous background in diplomacy, the United Nations, ambassador to China. He had a set of relationships. I can remember the first weekend of the Gulf crisis. He sent me out to get permission from Saudi Arabia and Egypt for the deployment of U.S. forces. I'd turned around, I'd finished that, headed back, and he called me and said, "No, we got to stop in Morocco," because he'd just gotten hold of the King of Morocco and wanted me to stop in and brief him and sign the Moroccans up. He was the best desk officer we ever had at the State Department because he knew all these folks.
Very involved in the details. Change your relationship with 41?
No, not really. At one point, I was accused of becoming, not to use the phrase, iron ass. And he used that language that I'd changed from when I was Secretary of Defense working for him to when I was Vice President working for his son. And
you're smiling at that description.
Well, I can laugh about it. After he'd done it, I got a note from him saying, "Dear Dick, I did it." And then he went on to say nice things about me. But that year when the Alpha dinner was held here in Washington, he arranged for me to sit right next to him at the head table. I mean, he wanted to make sure there was no perpetual aggravation there at all between 41 and myself.